Every morning, I and old father walked to the edge of each land with a container of raw meat, not because he loved the wild animals, but because this bobcat was the last living connection to Vichi's missing daughter. But on one silent morning, the bobcat didn't come for food. Instead, a tear approached him slowly, carrying something in its mouth that made the old man collapse in tears. What the wild animal brought back had been lost for more than a decade, and A.T. held the answer he had prayed for every single day. The sun had barely risen over the Montana mountains when Arnold Harrison stepped outside with stiff hands and tired eyes. Every day began the same way since his daughter disappeared during deployment, with silence, a cup of bitter coffee, and a plastic container of raw meat. The cold morning air beat his cheeks, but he didn't care. He had to reach the feeding spot before the bobcat arrived there, not because he was afraid the wild animal would leave, but because feeding A.T. was the only promise he had left to keep. Arnold walked slowly to the tree line, the place where the world of humans ended and the wilderness he now depended on began. And as always, right on time, the bobcat appeared, silent, powerful, and watching him with those embarrassed eyes. This was the same animal his daughter once fed with those gentle hints of hers. The same creature that used to follow her like a shadow when she was young. And now, in her absence, A.T. had become a symbol of hope, a reminder she once lived here, and loved the world more than anyone. But that morning, something was different. The bobcat didn't sit down. A.T. didn't wait for food. A.T. didn't act like A.T. usually did. Instead, A.T. paced, chirped softly, and kept glancing into the forest as if trying to pull Arnold toward something unseen. Arnold's heartbeat tightened. "What is A.T., boy?" he whispered. The bobcat stopped and stared back, with a look Arnold had never seen before. And that was the moment everything began to change. The moment that would lead to a discovery he never thought it life to see. Arnold felt a chill crawl down his spine as the bobcat stared at him, not with hunger, not with its usual calm wildness, but with a strong urgency, as if it was trying to communicate something only his heart could understand. The forest was silent. No birds, no wind, just the old man and the wild predators that had suddenly become wrestlers. Slowly, the bobcat stepped forward. Its paws made no sound on the frosted grass. Its back muscles twitched with tension. Its golden eyes never left Arnold's face. Then, the animal did something A.T. had never done before. A.T. lowered its head, and from its mouth, A.T. gently placed something on the ground, right at the old man's feet. A small, dirt-covered object. Arnold froze. His breath caught. His hands began to tremble. He couldn't step closer, not yet, because deep down, a feeling whispered within him. This was connected to joy. The bobcat stepped back, giving him space, as if inviting him to look. Arnold knelt slowly, his old knees cracking, his fingers shaking as he picked up the object. A.T. was cold, dusty, tangled with pine needles. He brushed the dirt away, and then he saw A.T., a pink satin hair bower, faded, torn on one side, but unmistakably. His vision blurred as tears flooded his eyes. A.T. was yours. The same hair bower she wore on her 10th birthday. The same one she lost on the mountain trail years before she ever joined the military. Impossible, Arnold whispered, with his voice breaking. How did you find this? He clutched the bower to his chest, the weight of memories crashing over him. Joy laughing, joy running through the woods, joy promising she'd always come home. The bobcat blinked slowly. The same gentle blink each's daughter once taught him was a sign of trust. Arnold felt each's heart crack open. This wasn't just a gift. This wasn't random. This was a message. A sign. A reminder from the wilderness that each's daughter was still out there, waiting to come home. The old man looked at the bobcat, tears streaming down each's wrinkled cheeks. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you, boy, for not forgetting her toy." The bobcat chirped softly, a sound almost like comfort, then turned and disappeared into the trees as silently as a tea had come. Arnold stood there alone, clutching the boar, and for the first time in months, he felt something he thought he had lost. Arnold held the pink-haired boar so tightly that each's knuckles turned white. He couldn't bring himself to go back inside. Not yet. The morning light spilled across the forest, warm and gentle, but inside him a storm raged, fear, hope, confusion, and something close to belief. He waved each's eyes and whispered into the trees. "Joy, is this you? Are you trying to tell me something?" But only silence answered. When Arnold finally walked back toward the house, Ermil was waiting at the door. One look at each's tear-stained face was enough. She rushed to him, gripping each's arms. "What happened? Arnold, what's wrong?" He opined each's hint. The boar lay there like a fragile memory brought back to life. Ermil gasped, covering her mouth. "Horrible." She touched it gently, her voice trembling. "I thought it was lost forever, toy." Arnold nodded, still shaking. "He gave it to me." The bobcat, as if he knew, as if Joy sent it. Before Ermil could answer, the phone rang inside the house. Both of them froze. For a moment, no one moved. The ringing cut through the silence like a knife. It rang once, twice, 3 times, and then Arnold ran. He grabbed the receiver with a desperate, breathless urgency. "Hello." A voice spoke on the other end, soft, tired, but unmistakably familiar. "Dad, it's me, Toik." Arnold's knees almost buckled. He pressed a hand against the wall to keep from collapsing. "Joy, sweetheart, is it really you?" "Yes, Dad," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I'm okay. I survived that. I'm safe, Toik." The room spun round him as Ermil grabbed the phone, sobbing with relief. Joy explained slowly. There had been an explosion. Her team was hit. She was injured, airlifted to Germany, recovering in a military hospital. "I'll be coming home soon," Joy said. "I didn't know if I would ever hear your voices again, Toik." Arnold wiped through tears he didn't even realize you were falling. "Joy, you won't believe this," he said, voice quivering. "Today, the bobcat brought me something of your stuff. Am I here, or?" Joy said swiftly, almost instantly. "The pink one." Arnold froze. "How did you know?" Yu's voice trembled with emotion. "Because I wore that boar every time I needed strength, every time I missed home, every time I felt scared out there." She paused. "Dad, if the bobcat brought it to you today, then maybe it's a sign that I'm coming home, that everything is going to be okay, Toik." Arnold pressed the boar against each's forehead, tears falling freely. "Yes," he whispered, "it is a sign, a promise, Toik." For the first time since she'd left, the fear inside him cracked open, replaced by something warm and alive. Hope had returned, just like Joy was about to. 2 weeks passed slower than winter nights in Montana. Arnold cleaned the house twice a day, Fixed the old porch swing. Polished the wooden chair where Joy sat to sit and feed the bobcat. Every minute felt like a countdown. Her miller cooked Jo's favorite meals even though she knew they would go cold. It didn't matter. Hope had finally returned to their home, and it tasted sweeter than anything they'd felt in months. On the morning of Jo's arrival, the sky was painted in soft April gold. The mountains glowed. The wind carried the scent of pine and towing cars. Arnold stood at the edge of the driveway, heart-pounding like it did the day Joy was born. And then he heard it. The sound of a car. Slow. Approaching. The military transport van turned onto the gravel pit, and Arnold felt his breath leave his body. The door opened, and there she was. Joy stepped out slowly, supported by a cane, her uniform loose around her shoulders, her hair shorter from hospital treatment, but her smile was exactly the same. "Dad," she whispered. Arnold didn't walk. He ran. He wrapped his arms around her, careful but desperate, holding her as if he never wanted to let go again. Her miller joined, and for a moment the three of them stood together, crying, laughing, shaking with relief. "You're home," Arnold said, with his voice breaking. "You really came home to it." Joy wiped her eyes, looking round the yard she grew up in. "It feels like I never left to it." But then her gaze shifted, toward the forest, toward the shadowed tree line where Maurice lived. "Is he still coming?" she asked softly. Arnold nodded. "Every day since you left. But today, he hasn't shown up yet to." Joy smiled faintly, tightening her grip on her cane. "Well, maybe he's waiting for me to." She walked slowly toward the feeding spot, each step painful but determined. Arnold and her miller stayed back, watching her like she was a miracle made of bun and bread. She stopped at the exact place she once stood as a child. The wind stirred the branches. The forest held its breath. Joy took out the pink hair bow, cleaned, pressed, and carefully clipped it into her hair. "Blinky," she called softly. "It's me. I came home to it." Silence. 10 crackling leaves. A rustle. A soft chirping sound. And then he appeared. The bobcat stepped out of the shadows like a ghost returning from memory. Larger now. Older. But unmistakably the same animal who once trusted a little girl with a heart full of love. He paused, staring at Joy. Then slowly moved forward. 6 feet away. The closest he had ever dared come to her as an adult. Joy's tears fell as she whispered, "I missed you too, Toek." Blinky blinked. Slow, deliberate, trusting. The same blink that numbed him. The same blink that once said him not afraid of you. Then, gently, he turned and walked back into the forest, stopping once to look over his shoulder. A goodbye, a blessing, a final confirmation that she had truly returned. Joy touched the bow in her hair. "Thank you," she whispered, "for bringing me home to it." Spring slowly warmed the Montana Valley, and life returned to the Harrison home with a gentle steadiness. Joy spent her days in physical therapy, rebuilding strength in her injured leg, relearning balance, taking each step like a promise to herself. But every evening, no matter how tired she was, she walked to the feeding spot. Not always to see Blinky, not always to leave food, sometimes just to stand there, just to breathe in the world she almost never returned to. Arnold watched her from the porch, pride swelling in his aging chest. Every step she took reminded him of the miracle he had prayed for, the miracle the forest itself seemed to deliver. One evening, as the sun melted into shades of orange and rosy, Joy sat beside her father on the old wooden porch sewing. Her fingers gently brushed the pink hair bow clipped in her hair. "Dad," she whispered, "I keep thinking about the day Blinky brought this back. How did he even find it? Why bring it now, after so many years?" Arnold looked toward the tree line where shadows danced between branches. "I don't know," he said softly. "But maybe some bonds never fade. Maybe he never forgot you. Maybe he felt something we humans can't explain to it." Joy leaned her head on each's shoulder. "Or maybe he just knew you needed hope. The same way I needed it out there toy." Arnold swallowed hard, emotioning in each's throat. "He saved me, Joy. When you were gone, when the silence became too heavy, he reminded me you were still with us touch." The wind carried a faint rustle from the forest, like an unseen presence passing by. They stared into weeks. Joy grew stronger, walking toward her cane, laughing with her mother, helping Arnold repair the barn beam she once painted as a child. And Blinky, he came less often. Sometimes Joy would catch a glimpse of him, a flicker of spotted fur between the pines, a pair of amber eyes watching her from the shadows, calm and unafraid. He never came closer again. He didn't need to. One morning, Joy placed the last container of food at the edge of the property. She stood there for a long time, her breath steady, her eyes soft. "Thank you," she said to the forest, "for watching over me, for watching over my family, for bringing me home to it." Behind her, Arnold placed a hand on her shoulder. "You'll always be part of our story," he whispered. Joy nodded. "And I carry each's gift with me forever toy." She touched the pink bow, the small, simple piece of cloth that somehow bridged the distance between fear and hope, between loss and love, between a girl and the wild creature who never forgot her. As the two of them turned to walk home, a soft movement caught Joy's attention. She glanced back. At the tree line, barely visible in the golden light, Blinky stood watching, silent, still, steady. A guardian, a friend, a final goodbye. He blinked once, slow and gentle. Joy smiled through her tears. "Goodbye, Blinky," she whispered. "You brought me home to it." And with that, the bobcat slipped into the forest for the last time, where sunlight and shadows embraced him like an old legend returning to its place. Joy walked back to her parents, to her home, to her life, carrying a story only nature could write, and a gift that would forever remain her. Some connections never break, some friendships never die, and some miracles walk on silent pause. Years passed, and the Harrison Ranch slowly returned to its quiet routine, but something in the land, in the trees, in the hearts of those who lived there, had changed forever. Joy fully recovered from her injuries. She went back to school, earned her veterinary license, and opened a small wildlife clinic at the edge of town, a place dedicated to healing wounded animals, especially those who had no voice. People often asked her why she chose this path. She always gave the same soft answer. "Because someone will once believed in me to it." Inside her clinic, she hung a shadow box on the wall. Inside it lay the pink hair bower, a photograph of her as a little girl, and beside her, a young bobcat blinking slowly in the sunlight. Below it, a small metal plate carried her favorite words. Some friendships don't need words to it. Visitors would often pause to admire it, unaware of the full story behind the items. But every time Joy walked past the display, she felt the same warmth in her chest. The warmth of being remembered, being protected, being guided home by something wild and loyal. Arnold, now older, still took slow walks to the feeding spot. Not to leave food, not to wait for Blinky, but just to stand there and remember her. Sometimes he thought he heard soft paw steps behind him. Sometimes he caught a glimpse of golden eyes in the distance. Maybe it was memory, maybe it was the wind, or maybe some spirits of the world never truly left. Ermilraufren found him smiling to himself on the porch. "What are you thinking about?" she would ask. Arnold would point toward the forest. "Ah, just an old friend, Tosh." As the season turned, US clinic became known throughout Montana. She cared for wounded owls, injured foxes, overturned fawns, and sometimes, late at night, when she locked up the clinic and stepped outside, she felt a strong comfort in the quiet woods nearby, as if something was still watching over her, still protecting her, still remembering. One misty morning, when Joy was preparing to leave for work, she noticed something at the edge of the property, all hidden under leaves, resting where Blinky once sat. A single feather, blue, perfect, a gift, the kind Blinky used to live when she was a child. Her breath caught, her heart tightened in that old, familiar way. She picked it up gently, whispering to the tree line, "Thank you, wherever you are." The forest remained still, but the silence felt warm, not empty. Joy knew Blinky was gone, either clean by the world he belonged to, or resting somewhere deep where legends go to sleep. But Witch's legacy lived on, in her work, in her family, in the stories that would be told to her children, and maybe even theirs. A story of a band too pure to explain. A story of a boer, a bobcat, and a girl whose life she touched in ways no one else ever could. And so, on quiet nights, when the moon was full and the world felt soft, Joy would step outside, close her eyes, and swear she could almost hear gentle paws moving through the brush. A reminder that miracles don't always rare. Sometimes, they walk swiftly, disappear quietly, and lie forever in the hearts they save. Time has a way of softening even the sharpest memories, turning them into gentle echoes that whisper through the years. But some stories, they never fade. They grow, they spread, they become legends. The story of Joy and the wild bobcat became one such legend in their quiet Montana town. People spoke about it around campfires. Hikers retold it on forest trails. Parents whispered it to their children at bedtime. A story of courage, love, and a bond no one could fully explain. Some said the bobcat was US guardian spirit. Others believed it was nature's way of protecting a child who loved the world more than anything. And a few, the oldest locals, nodded knowingly and said, "Animals know. They always know talk." But for Joy, the truth was simpler. It was friendship, as real as any she ever had. A friendship born from kindness, strengthened through a time, and sealed by a gift that brought her home when hope seemed lost. And for Arnold, the story became his favorite memory, the one he carried into every room, every conversation, every quiet evening on the porch. He would sit on the old wooden swing, stare at the tree line, and say swiftly, "If you ever meet a wild soul with gentle eyes, treat him with kindness. You never know how away you talk." As Joy built her life, a family, a clinic, a purpose rooted in the wild, the shadow of the bobcat followed her like a guardian made of memory. Every animal she held, every life she saved, felt like carrying his legacy forward. And though Blinky never returned, not physically, Joy belevde he still walked beside for in moments that mattered. Like the night her son took his first steps on the porch. He toddled toward the tree line, giggling at something unseen. Joy felt her breath catch a warmth in the air, a presence she told name, as if an old friend had come to watch the next generation grow. Some people would call it imagination, but Joy knew better. Some connections never die. Some spirits never leave. Some friendships, once formed, last long after footprints fade. Years later, when visitors came to her clinic and paused in front of the shadow box with the board and the photo, they always asked the same question. Is this based on a true story? Joy would smile. Soft, secret, full of memory. Ah yes, she always said. More true than you can ever imagine it. And as they walked through, Joy would glance out the window toward the forest. Sometimes the branches swayed with the wind. Sometimes a shadow moved or a creature stood. Sometimes the world felt warm in places it shouldered. And every time, Joy whispered the same words. Thank you for everything, Toek. Because in her heart, she knew, the wild never forgets. Love never disappears. And miracles, the real ones, return to us in unexpected ways. Even if they walk on silent pause.